Now we're live.
Yay! Hi, everyone.
Hooray! So this is what happens when you go live. You make mistakes. And actually, I didn't even need to admit that because nobody would have known that Sam and I were chatting away and I was introducing her to a non-audience because we hadn't actually gone live because
we had a little dance though, which was fun. Everyone missed that though.
Yeah, they missed our little chair dancing, which was a shame. I liked your chair dancing. It was very cute, very nice. So, for the second time, I'm going to say welcome to the B2B Live Lounge and welcome to my guest, my lovely guest, Sam Rattling. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Sarah, and hi, everyone watching. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
My absolute pleasure. Sam, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I think you do it better than me. So, Sam Rattling, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Sam Rattling. I'm a LinkedIn and social selling strategist. So I've been talking about LinkedIn since 2010. So 15 years this year, which is mad that I've been sharing my expertise on this platform. And I have been on LinkedIn since 2005. So I've about 20 years of business generation experience. And I help companies to effectively use Sales Navigator and LinkedIn for their sales and marketing teams, as well as helping small businesses too. So yeah, been around the block, but I'm one of the OG female powerhouses on LinkedIn.
Oh my word, you so are OG powerhouse. Yes.
Yes.
And it's International Women's Day, so this is very timely that I've got you on here today, which I hadn't actually realised
Isn't that
until yesterday.
When is International Women's Day? I have no idea.
No, it's not today, is it? It's book day today, which we are
well,
going to talk
about today, don't we all know that?
International Women's Day, I think, is next week. Having said that, International Women's Day, I'm going to an event tonight, an event tomorrow, an event on Monday, and an event next Friday. So it's kind of International Women's Fortnight.
I guess so. Maybe it's International Women's Month.
Maybe it is. Oh, Marianne Avery in the house. Let's have a hi. Just came onto LinkedIn and you were live. Do you know, I love that about LinkedIn Lives. The banner, your banner is all lively and exciting, and people just happen to be there, or they'll get a notification that you're live on LinkedIn, and people can just hop in and hop out. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Well, it's my first one, so I wouldn't know. So it's my first LinkedIn Live. Can you believe that?
You are joking.
No one's ever really on a live. So I've never done one myself, and I've never been on one. So there you go. You're my first one, Sarah.
I feel honoured, even more honoured, Sam. Thank you. I can't believe that nobody's ever invited you onto LinkedIn Live.
I get lots of podcasts. I do lots of podcasts. But no, LinkedIn Live, it's my first one. I've done a lot of audio rooms, but never a LinkedIn Live.
Well. So, hang on. We have got Jeff Young in the house. Hello, Jeff. Greetings from across the pond. Namaste. We have to do that when we talk to Jeff and say namaste, don't we? Thank you for joining us, Jeff. Brilliant. So this is all kicking off very nicely. I'm liking this today. So, Sam, we first met, not first met, but we did meet and got to know each other when I was on one of your courses, wasn't I? It was all about Sales Navigator.
That's right. Yeah, I ran a last year. Was it last year? Year before, I think. I was running 6-week masterclasses for Sales Navigator, because I think it's an amazing, phenomenal tool. But I think a lot of people really struggle to get to the nuances and if you really, really properly understand how to use it. It's a phenomenal tool, especially if you're in sales or you run your own business and you're doing business development. Like, it's hands down like the best prospecting tool. So yeah, so we met on that, and I think there were a couple of other LinkedIn experts on there as well. I think it was a very LinkedIn heavy course, that one, but it was good. It was really good.
It was Nigel not on it? I think Nigel was on there.
Yeah.
Nigel Cliff. Yeah.
And I stopped doing them obviously because I've had breast cancer for the last 18 months. So I did stop doing them whilst I was going through my treatment. I did carry on working, but yeah, that was something I had to just take off the table whilst I was going through all my treatments. Yeah.
And you've been really brave, I think, sharing your journey on LinkedIn with your breast cancer. And now you've actually become an ambassador for the breast cancer charity, which is incredible. And how has that impacted your recovery, if you like? Well, not your, well, it is your recovery, but the whole process of going through that, all that trauma, sharing it openly on LinkedIn. How has it helped you? Is that why you did it, or you just felt like it was the right thing to do?
So it's a good question. We did talk about it. Me and my business partner talked about it quite a lot before I decided to go public with it, because I was like, is this going to be a risk to the business? Like, would we get less business because of it, because people knew? So, but then I thought, well, I, as a single mom and as someone who's gone through sobriety and gone through lots of other challenges and adversity in my life, I thought, well, this is just another thing that I'm going through. And I think for me, with such a big following, I actually could do some good here. So I decided to talk about it on LinkedIn. It wasn't my main platform. TikTok was my main platform for really documenting the ups and downs of everything. But I didn't want to become like the cancer girl on LinkedIn. But I wanted to still keep my professional image as a LinkedIn expert, but at the same time use the platform to raise awareness for people to check themselves and to get diagnosed early, which I did. And I found my own lump. So I'm a big advocate of people, regularly checking themselves every month, male, female, whatever. And like, if you find anything unusual, to go to your GP or your doctor. So that I felt like I needed to talk about, because even in my own friend group, there were people not going for mammograms, not going for cervical scans, not going to their normal checkups. And I was like, look, it takes me getting breast cancer for you to actually take action. So I felt like I needed to do it from that perspective. But also, I think for me to be able to document and share my journey was kind of almost like therapy for me. So being able to write about my journey and my thoughts and how it is to be a single mom running a business, also having cancer, is, the amount of direct messages I've had, private messages from people also going through it who are not talking about it. I feel like if I've just impacted one person, then I did the right thing.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. And I think it's a really, it is brave. It is a brave thing to do, to be that open. But also because you've got so many followers on LinkedIn and you've been around for a long time, and you are a very well respected voice on LinkedIn, and using that authority and that notoriety, if you like, in that positive way, I think is just brilliant. I think you've done a great job. And it's my absolute pleasure. And I have 2 daughters, and we have, on my husband's side, there's breast cancer in the family. And all week, coming up to meeting you today, all week I've been saying to them, girls, you've got to get yourself checked. Your priority, because it's in the family. You can go to the NHS and ask for a mammogram. Yeah. Finally, they have booked themselves in, but it's taken a week of me nagging them, because it's too far away, isn't it? And unless they see something that affects them, and humans in general, not just my daughters, we just kind of pretend it's not there, don't we?
Yeah, I think people just think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Or even if it's in the family, I have it in the family. My mum's had breast cancer twice and ovarian cancer. She's a 3 times cancer survivor. One of my best friends has been through it. So I've been around a lot of people that have gone through it, and all of them are still here. So I think for, as a mom to a couple of daughters as well, I felt it was my duty to get them involved, to get, to raise awareness. And I think it's amazing that they're going, keep nagging. But nag your friends, nag your mom, nag your sisters, nag everybody, because it's such an important thing. It isn't a death sentence anymore. You can survive it. There are many, amazing advancements in research, thankfully. And that's why I wanted to fundraise. I'm fundraise for Cancer Research UK. I'm an ambassador for Cancer Support UK. So it's really important that you are, and that's why I wanted to use my voice, I guess, for fundraising awareness.
Brilliant. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk LinkedIn now. Okay. You've been, as you have said to me, you're one of the OG.
One of the OGs. I think there were 5 people talking about LinkedIn when I started, and I was the only girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still very male heavy.
It's still very male heavy. I agree. But I think in terms of I just looked, there was one person in the US who had been doing it for about 5 years, a woman, Vivica, and I was like, I need to be her in Europe. Like she was like the only female talking about LinkedIn that I looked to and went, yeah, I can build something like she did. So, and she wasn't really doing much in Europe. So I thought, well, if I can be her in Europe, like that's my big goal, and that's what I set out to do.
Brilliant. And you made it, you did it. So well done,
Yeah.
you. And now, of course, it's a very different platform. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about, because you've been doing it for such a long time. I just wondered, obviously, we all know LinkedIn has changed massively. And I talk about, when I'm working with my clients, about mindset and trying to shift mindsets and help them understand that LinkedIn isn't this scary place, the way you sort of pop your CV and run away, or you have to turn up metaphorically in a suit and tie, because it's just not like that anymore, is it? We all know that. And I'd love to get your take on what you see people are saying about LinkedIn, or how people are using LinkedIn differently now from even a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago.
I think the big shift, well, there's a couple of shifts. I think one shift happened when the Microsoft transition happened. I think it became much more of a business to business platform. It became less of a recruitment tool and much more a place where, business and professional relationships could be built. And then I think when COVID and lockdown happened, I think that was when the big shift happened to it being okay to really kind of share human stories and to be more personal. And I know some people still complain about the fact that, there's a lot of personal stories on the feed, but I think, at the end of the day, behind every profile is a real human being. And I think it's okay for us to now share everything about our lives, both professionally, but also personally as well, as much as one is comfortable to. I mean, I obviously share quite a lot about my personal life by choice, but I think, it has massively changed. And I think, as much as LinkedIn's trying to squash the personal human stories, I think that at the end of the day, anything that's got a emotive storytelling human element is still going to perform really well on the algorithm, and of which there are many running at the moment. So I think although the platform has changed and the features have changed, I always believe that the methodology to actually get business from LinkedIn has never changed. So although the features and product looks different to how it did 10 years ago, ultimately how you get business from the platform hasn't changed. And that's about relationships, that's about adding value, that's about giving, it's about connection, it's about showing up, it's about credibility, visibility, all of these things. None of that has changed, although the platform will always change and will continue to change for many years to come, as long as it's around.
Brilliant. So the classic sort of spammy buy my stuff DMs that we do still get, have you seen those reducing, increasing? What have people become? Do you think people are adopting this relationship building aspect of LinkedIn, which you and I think all the people here who are listening and watching are aware that that's what we need to be doing? But do you see that more people are adopting that, or are there still lots and lots of people who are slow
If
to the
only.
uptake?
I mean, unfortunately, particularly in the sales world, I think, there are still a lot of people out there that just don't understand that that's not how you get business from this platform. I'm glad that the numbers have reduced. Obviously, it used to be very unlimited, like how many messages you could send. And, obviously that's been squished now, which is a great move by LinkedIn. But I still think people are afraid of the direct messages because they don't like being sold to in that way. So a lot of people see it as being quite icky and a bit like, ooh, I don't want to do that, because the way that they've been pitched and the way they've been spammed in their inbox is not how they'd like to receive it. But I do believe that as having an outbound strategy to build your network and to convert clients is still a really, really important part of the process. But there are ways to do it. And if you choose the right type of campaigns and the right way to run the outbound aspect of what you're doing, you can still convert clients. But unfortunately, there has been a massive uptake in how many people are moving to direct messaging, because with lockdown again, we weren't able to knock on the doors or go to events or do all the other marketing ways that the only option was like, let's just get in people's inboxes. So I think that there has been a definite uplift in how many people are using the inbox to prospect. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people still doing that badly.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
the more people like us are sharing, that's not the way to generate business. You cannot go from, a cold message and we've just connected to let's book a meeting. You could do 5 years ago, 10 years ago even, but not anymore. Like that just doesn't cut it. You have to do lots of other things to nurture those relationships before you can move somebody from we're connected to let's do business. So there's lots of nuances around how to do that.
Yeah, it just takes longer. And one of the things actually that's different from what you do to the way a lot of LinkedIn trainers work, including myself, is the Sales Navigator side. So
Yes.
can you talk to us a little bit about, well, first of all, why and how you got into doing that, and what does it add? What does Sales Navigator add to a sales team or an individual?
So Sales Navigator is one of LinkedIn's paid kind of more premium features. It's particularly useful if you're in a business development function, you're in a sales function, or if in your business you have a huge amount of business development to do in your business. So if you're a business owner that needs to sell, and particularly if you are selling to a very specific audience where, so the free version of LinkedIn, you can have about 11 filters when you're looking to identify potential prospects, whereas Sales Navigator on the lead searches gives you about 37 like individual filters. So if I wanted to target senior sales leaders in companies who are seeing a 40% or higher growth in their sales headcount, who are investor backed, who are based somewhere, who are a particular industry, like I can find those people like using Sales Navigator. So if you have a very specific target market, Sales Navigator is great for that. If you are looking for corporate business, it's phenomenal for that. So if you wanted to build a top 50, top 100 list of key accounts that you wanted to target, which many salespeople work on that kind of basis. And as a business owner, you should always have that list anyway, like who are your dream clients you want to work with. So we were talking before about you wanting to get, or you getting bigger clients now, which is amazing. So let's say you had a top 50, top 100 key account list. Sales Navigator gives you the ability to build those lists, but also to get loads and loads of insights about those companies, to be able to see things like, do they have buyer intent? Have they recently visited your website? Have they recently interacted with employees in your organization? And now they have a new feature called category interest. So I look for people on Sales Navigator that have got an interest in buying software that is related to revenue and related to sales related, because then I know they're investing in certain tools, which means that they're likely to pay for someone like me to come in and work with them on sales now. So category interest and buyer intent, which are available on the higher level versions of Sales Navigator, give phenomenal insights. I've done some work with MasterCard, and they use that particular tool to look at which companies are investigating fraud prevention, because they had a set of fraud tools, for example. So being able to target potential prospects based on their interaction with your website, but also interaction with ads and with your employees in your business, and being able to see like what are they potentially buying, it allows you to really nail in on those clients that could be potential really good prospects for you. So I think there's that part of it. The other part is the ability to build lists, so you can be very time efficient. And all of your prospecting and business development can be done in Sales Navigator, completely away from LinkedIn. So I find that LinkedIn's quite a distracting place. Like the news feed's very busy. You can quite often get, dragged off into the rabbit hole of articles and, watching a LinkedIn live when you should be doing something else, like for some of you that might be watching this now. Right. So whereas if you're in Sales Navigator, you don't get that. I'm sure, say, just type underneath if you're one of those people. But I think with it all kind of being very self-contained, you can kind of get in, do your prospecting, do your business development, and get the heck out of there and not get distracted by LinkedIn.com. So from an efficiency perspective, it's really, really good for that. So there's many, many different features, relationship mapping, account mapping, like there's so many tools in there that if you are selling to bigger companies and you don't have Sales Navigator, you are literally leaving money on the table.
Yeah, I agree. And the relationship mapping part I like. So I don't have the top tier of Sales Navigator. I've got the lower tier, but you can still do relationship mapping. So you can see within an organization who are the other people that you might
Exactly.
be able to speak to and get an in with to get you to the person, which is so valuable.
It's super
really
helpful, yeah. Having that like helicopter view of the entire organization. Let's say you get a lead. Good job, Sheila. She's multitasking. If you got like when I get a lead from a company and they're inquiring, you know, they're at the inquiry stage. Oh, Sam, we want to bring someone in to do Sales Navigator. First thing I go and do is build a relationship map. I build an account map for that account, and I go, right, who's the person that's contacted me? I look at who their boss is. I look at who's the CFO. I look at all the, because there'll be 12 to 15 people now involved in a buying decision. So to be able to get that helicopter view of all the different roles in that organization before you even go into the sales process, and then be able to connect with those people so that they start seeing on the news feed, even though they haven't bought your services yet. I think there's a lot of things you could do with the account map and the relationship tool that, you know, that really help out with that. So
brilliant. And the great thing, of course, about Sales Navigator is that because it's a LinkedIn tool, you're not going to get penalized for using it. Whereas a lot of the third-party tools, the add-ons and the extensions, etc., potentially LinkedIn don't like them, and you could get your account closed down immediately for using them.
Exactly, yeah. So I think, you know, from that perspective, it's a, you know, fantastic tool for that. So you know, so I just absolutely love it. It's an amazing tool for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I often get asked about Sales Navigator, whether you can mass send out messages, but you can't, can you? What you can do all your research and everything, but you still have to individually connect and build a relationship with those people one by one.
Yeah, Sarah, can you just 1 second? My daughter's at the front door and it's the
Oh
door's
yeah,
locked. Okay, just 1 second. I'll be right back.
you see, this is what happens, folks, on a live. Isn't this absolutely brilliant? Because this is just real life. So when we started, I hadn't pressed the button correctly, so it took Sam and I a while to come on. But now here we are, and then Sam's had to go and open the door for her daughter.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. And I was just explaining.
Literally checked everything else and forgot to unlock the door. Apologies.
No, that's fine. Anybody's got any questions for Sam or any comments about Sales Navigator, particularly that being Sam's area of expertise, it would be great if you could pop any comments in the chat, in the comment box. That would be amazing. But yes, so it's still, you still have to build those relationships with people. It won't do that kind of lifting for you, but no. What it does do is help you be organized, help you see the companies. And the other thing I like about it is when you've got your lists made, obviously you can change your lists around, etc., etc. But then you get notified directly in Sales Navigator when somebody's posted. So, yes. And this was before we had the bell function, which I do love as well in LinkedIn itself. And you can ring somebody's bell if you want to be notified when they post. But actually the feature in Sales Navigator is really efficient, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I find I always teach something called intentional engagement. So rather than just liking and commenting on your mate's posts or the people that just regularly show, you know, support your posts, who probably aren't ever going to buy from you, is being really intentional with that engagement. So if you actually, once you've built your list in Sales Navigator and you go across to the home feed in Sales Nav, there is no algorithm inside the home feed in Sales Navigator. Whereas there is, you're completely dictated what you see by the algorithms that are going on in the LinkedIn.com world. Whereas in Sales Nav, the only posts you're going to see are the posts of the people that are in your sales saved list. And even now you can filter it and say, well, show me all the posts from the, you know, the CROs in my top 100 list. So literally you can go in every morning, check the feed on Sales Navigator and see all of the new posts that have been created, both by the people you're connected to, but also people in your second or third degree that might be in your list that you haven't even connected with yet. So you can spend 5-10 minutes engaging and commenting on the posts of your prospects who are specifically in your target market because you put them in those lists for a reason, and be able to interact with and do very intentional engagement with the Sales Navigator home feed. And if you tried to filter that on your normal LinkedIn home feed, you just wouldn't find them because you're just being served up whatever the algorithm wants to show you. So I love that from a prospecting and warming prospects up perspective. That's a really, really fantastic tool.
It is. You're absolutely right. And what I always say to people is start commenting on people's posts before you even send that connection request.
Yeah.
You know, it's warming up. It's that kind of saying hi before you actually put your hand out, shake your hand and say, will you be my friend? Isn't it? It's that gentle introduction to who you are.
It is, yeah. And, you know, make sure that your comment is, you know, obviously insightful in some way, not just like great post. So, but the fact that you can get visibility with not just the author of that post, but also everyone else that has liked and commented on that post already. And quite often people are craving engagement on their posts, and they do remember who has liked and commented on their post frequently. So I think the fact that you can really kind of target where your engagement goes through Sales Navigator is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's an absolutely brilliant tool. I mean, obviously there's a cost element and it isn't the cheapest thing in the world. But if we think about, you've got the whole of LinkedIn, which doesn't cost a penny, you know, you can have it for free. Having that additional cost, especially if you're part of a team, it's kind of a no-brainer, really, isn't it? If you can, you know, if you're going to get one client because of Sales Navigator, that's going to pay for it.
Yeah, and I quite often get brought in by companies when they've already invested like hundreds of thousands. They're like, I'm like, how long have you been on Sales Navigator? Oh, we've had it for about 2.5 years. So I'm like, how many people? Oh, about 36, 35, 40 people. And you add it all up. And I'm like, so how much business have you had? And they'll quite often go, well, we haven't had any yet. And, you know, they're 2.5 years in with a license across a, you know, massive team. And they haven't had one piece of business from LinkedIn. And so like literally the return on investment has been zero, and then I come in and teach them how to actually properly use it, and they're like, oh, this is amazing. But the problem is these companies think it's the magic bullet, and they buy the licenses thinking that's going to solve their sales problems and give it to everyone in their sales team, and then expect them all to magically know how to use it. And, you know, and that just doesn't happen. So it's very complicated if you don't know what you're doing with it. And then quite often they'll be spending all this money on it and then not actually be getting a return on their investment. So that's where I come in normally.
It is, absolutely. And you know, you did it really well. And because I have first-hand experience with this, but it's like buying somebody a car when they haven't learned to drive. It's not, there's no point, is there? People need to understand how to use it. And actually, when I worked with you, I found that the way you explained it in the steps, actually, it's not that complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Yeah. And one piece of advice you said to me, because I'm not very good at being sort of sitting and being organized, and you said, just put some nice music on when you're ready to create your lists. Just put yourself an hour or 2 hours aside, put some nice music on, have a cup of tea, have a biscuit, make your environment all friendly and lovely. Create your lists, because once they're created, they're there forever, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and it's about knowing your numbers, right? So if you know that, if let's say you're going to max out your connections and are in a sales role and you're in a business development hunter role, you know, you can invite up to 200 people a week currently. So that means you need 800 people in a list to do a month's worth of prospecting. So you've got to figure out your numbers and what you need, or you're going to pick 10 a day or 50 a day or whatever the number is you're going to prospect. But you've got to work it back and figure out, like, how many do I need? So if you're going to list build 600 people, that will probably take you about an hour to 2 hours to do that, if you've got all your searches right. And it becomes much easier if you get those advanced searches really down to a fine art, because otherwise the list will be full of people that aren't relevant. So it's a bit of an art to get there, but, you know, with the right help, it does become much easier. And yeah, it's a phenomenal tool, and salespeople that properly get it and combine it with really solid content, it's a game changer for sales teams for sure.
Yeah, and also having a decent profile as well, because anybody who wants to, you know, gets a message from you, they're going to go and check out your profile. So it's that 3 steps, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, amazing profile, big credibility, engagement, great content, and obviously prospecting to the right target market, and just making sure that your profile really speaks to your ideal client and who it is that you're targeting, and that everything lines up. Your content speaks to them, your profile speaks to them, your direct messaging really demonstrates that you really understand what's going on in that organization.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll lose people in that journey, won't you? If they go to your profile and it's half finished, or, you know, it's not
or looks like a CV, which is how most salespeople see
profiles. Oh, yes, exactly. But that's a conversation for another day, because we are out of time. But I've got one more question for you, Sam. So for the people that are listening or watching live, can you give 3 actionable tips for them to take away?
Oh, that's a good question. So my first tip would be, based on what we've just said there, take a step back, look at your profile and imagine that you are your ideal client, your ideal customer. And right now somebody has got their eyeballs on your profile who is like a dream client. Would you connect with you first off? And would you buy from you based on what you currently look like on your current profile? If the answer is no, then you've got some work to do. Second thing is, I would say, go and have a look at your top performing posts to get a real feel for what is working for your specific audience, because lots of people will talk about content, but knowing what works for your audience. So you can go into your content analytics and change it from 7 days to 365 days, and that will give you your top performing posts from the last year. So that will give you a guide as to what's working, what's resonating. And the third tip, I guess, would be around that engagement piece that we've just talked about. So make sure that you're not just liking and commenting on your mates' posts or people that comment on yours. Like, really be intentional with your liking and commenting strategy, because that will get you visible with potential prospects. So there would be my 3 tips.
Amazing. I love that about prospecting intentionally and building relationships intentionally, not just hanging out with your friends. And I always talk about LinkedIn being the biggest networking party in the world. And yeah, of course, you can go to the party and hang out in the kitchen with your friends where all the booze and the food is. But actually, if you really want to get the most out of the party and meet as many people as possible, you've got to get out into the different rooms and start shaking some hands and saying hello to people and being intentional to do that. Otherwise, what's the point?
Indeed.
So thank you, Sam. We've gone a little bit over time, but thank you very much. So Sam Rathling, where can people find you, Sam?
Well, I think the most obvious place is my LinkedIn profile, but on my LinkedIn profile, I have, because I have Sales Navigator, I have the little button that says visit my store. So if you click on visit my store, you'll be able to access a free copy of LinkedIn Bound, which is one of my LinkedIn books. The other one's called Linked Outbound, and there's loads of other free resources in there. So either go to my about section or click on the visit my store button on my profile, and you'll be able to access all of the free stuff that I've got there.
Amazing. Sam Rathling, thank you so much for being on the B2B Live Lounge and sharing your... Oh, I clicked it too early. This live has just had everything happen to it today. Woo! So thank you, Sam. It's been brilliant having you on the show, and I look forward to maybe having you back another day. Thank you.
All right, Sarah, lovely to see you. And I'll see you at Uplift Live, I think. Will I?
You will see me in Birmingham in about 3 weeks' time. Yes.
Amazing. I'm speaking. Live. So if you're going to be at Uplift Live, give me a shout out. And yeah, I'll see you. I'll look forward to giving you a big hug.
Yes, brilliant. Live. Likewise.